What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into the Gang of Three. Again, it's a different looking Gang of Three. Some would argue maybe even a better looking Gang of Three than normal, even though we still got Pete here. So that, that does what it does. But we got a great show planned for you here tonight, talking Browns. And we've got a great panel, and I already see the comments going crazy. So we're glad you're here. We're glad you're joining us here on the OBR streaming network. Before we get into the show, remember, I'm going to put the QR code up right here. You can scan it with your phone, get over to the OBR.com, hit subscribe, and you too can be a part of the oldest, largest Cleveland Browns coverage site in all of Cleveland. All you got to do is scan that QR code with your phone. Make sure you're subscribed, and you get all the best written material from people like my colleagues here, people like the rest of my colleagues at the OBR, and then you get to hang out with us. You get to be on the forums, all that kind of stuff. It all happens at the OBR.com, so make sure you get subscribed. We've got a great show planned for you here on this Monday night, the snowy, terrible Monday night here in Cleveland. Feels like football season, so we're talking football. Joining you, replacing, again, we got two replacement hosts here, replacing Barry McBride and our buddy Lane Atkins. I am joining you tonight, Michael Keefe, Joe Mazzullo. First time I've done a show with Joe, so I'm very excited for this. He's joining. And then, as always, we get the rock-solid Pete Smith. Boys, what's going on? You ready to talk a little football?
It beats what's going on in Northeast Ohio right now between snow and everybody's nightmare dealing with First Energy.
Actually, that's what we were going to talk about. That's all we were talking about. It was that and March Madness. That's the whole point of the show, is that and March Madness. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's fair. I got to tell you, 5 months ago, I was in South Florida, so these Cleveland winters can pound salt, dude. I'm over it. I'm absolutely over it.
No, hey, you think you're over it, but Cleveland winters say, no, the hell you're not. Welcome back in, buddy. Listen, guys, this is going to be a great show. I do want to throw this out there. It's St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, and with me being a Michael Patrick and my son being Patrick Thomas, we are an Irish family. So normally I try to keep the beers to the garage beer side of things, or maybe Mike's draft pours on this side up. But I had to make a little black and tan kind of deal here for St. Patty's Day to enjoy it on the show. So I just didn't want to throw you guys off. All right, guys. There was so much. Pete, you and I were on the show last week, and there was so much to talk about. The Browns really came out hard, fast, and strong, addressing the offensive line. And it's what we've talked about pretty much the whole stretch of the way. And now it's just kind of been a little bit of silence. We know they also address linebacker. They address that blocking tight end. But now here we sit, March 16th. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm stupid, but I just keep refreshing Twitter to see if anything is going to happen.
Always.
Not much happening. So, Pete, give us a little heads up here. Joe, you chime in too on just, we've got a full month and a half basically until the draft. So if you're a Browns fan, are there any more expectations that you should get any more dings about the Browns and any moves they might make?
Absolutely. It's just a question of how long it's going to take. We're in that period where, between contract negotiations and some players getting healthy, some teams waiting out demands, this could take a while. I mean, it's crazy. People talk about free agency being over on March 11th, and like in years past, we had like Jadeveon Clowney sign in June. So it can go for a while, and they've got work to do. They still need whether or not it's going to happen in free agency or some other mechanism. They still have needs at tight end. They still have a need at quarterback. They still have work to do on the offensive line. Depth all over the defense in various forms. It could be coming. And the sweet spot that the Browns sort of find themselves is particularly on the defensive side, is they can just sit here and wait and play for opportunities, because the Browns have a heck of a sales pitch by being able to go, this defense is really, really good. And if you're not getting maybe the deal you wanted somewhere else, come here, play really, really well, go back onto the market next year and cash in and be like, look at Devin Bush. He's getting, $30 million or whatever, hopefully all of it, with the Chicago Bears. You can be the next Devin Bush, or you can be the next, those type of guys. The defensive end who signed in Atlanta getting $3 million after, being a nice little role player for the Browns. So the opportunities are great on that side of the ball. Offense is a little bit, doesn't feel great right this second, but there's still time.
Well, but Joe, that's, as long time Browns fans here, Joe, that's what we're looking for, right? Like, I think sometimes when guys move on, it's a bummer. You see what Devin Bush did here.
Well, yeah, no, to echo what Pete was saying. Yeah, and to echo what Pete was saying, like the defense is set. So anybody stepping into the defense right now is simply stepping into an opportunity. I mean, we have the last 3 years of proof that our defensive line is going to wreak havoc and the back seven is going to, be able to reap the benefits of that havoc. So Pete's nailed it. Any fringe, whether it's a wave 2 or wave 3 guy that's looking for a defensive opportunity, you're going to have your eyes on Cleveland, whether it's safety, whether it's corner, whether it's a rotational pass rusher now that Cam Thomas is gone. I think the biggest thing about free agency for me, we're not even a week in, man. Wednesday is going to mark the first full week of free agency. We still haven't really seen wave 2. There's going to be wave 3. We didn't have Joe Flacco till, I want to say, April of last year. I feel like they're going to make moves when they present themselves. And you look at the remaining free agents, there's guys there that can make an impact, that can be good players for a good team. So I think the opportunity is going to be there, and it's so early in the process.
So let's talk about, guys, something that did happen since last we talked. Pete, we saw the Browns did bring in a little bit of depth on that defense, a player that we didn't have a chance to talk about last week, but Kalia Davis, the defensive tackle from the San Francisco 49ers. Joe, Pete, what do you know about this guy, and what kind of impact can he have if we're talking about one of those guys that can maybe come in and make a name after his play in San Francisco? What do we know about Davis and what he can bring to the Browns?
He started all 17 games last year, which was a welcome treat for the 49ers because there were people who were really excited about him. But his issue has been sort of staying healthy. Coming out of college, it dropped him, and then he got hurt a little bit with the 49ers. And then this past season, he sort of got to play a starting opportunity and did well. He's 27. And obviously the natural connection you have is he started for a defensive system that employed Mike Rutenberg. So there's a natural connection to be able to take him right out of the system that Robert Saleh runs and plug him right into the system that Mike Rutenberg runs. He's, I don't want to lose Shelby Harris, but he's going to be 35 in August. So at some point this was going to happen. And maybe this is that sign. If Kalia Davis can come in and what I think he does well, based on what I've watched, he's a pretty good run player, and they need a guy who can do that. He's short, relatively speaking, long arms and squatty, but he's sort of like a bowling ball. Guys sort of collide into him, but he stays up and keeps working. So like they needed that. They needed one of those guys. There were some other guys out there that were interesting that I was sort of keeping my eye on, but like this is what happens when you get a guy like Mike Rutenberg. He's going to get that familiarity and bring in guys that sort of are natural fits.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, Andrew Berry does it every year, and I love that he does it. He raises the floor of a particular position with a veteran at a discount price, and it's a 1-year prove-it deal. And then if the draft brings us a better option, we take it. It's just it's good business. It's smart team building.
I do think there's such a theme to the way they're building this team, though, isn't there, guys? I mean, again, they're trying to find players that they think can play. And I think we'll dive in a little bit deeper on what we've learned about some of these guys over the last week, specifically some of the things we're hearing people talk about. I do want to get into it with you guys tonight. Some of the things I'm hearing people talk about with their offensive line signings, but it really does feel like a general theme of, and I think there's always been general themes with Andrew Berry. Versatility has always been a big theme of Andrew Berry. He likes guys that can play multiple different ways, multiple positions. He can move them around a team. His coaches can do that. But it really feels like another word that got added in this year is just availability. They signed a lot of guys that are really good at playing a lot of games. And that doesn't matter if the guys stink, but none of these guys stink. These are guys that have been pretty good players, and they play a lot of games. And you can see it's been a focus of this team, especially with what they've been through the last few years of just devastating injury after devastating injury. They want guys that can come in and play.
Well, particularly for the defensive line, or I should defense in general, you're getting to see is sort of, obviously Mike Rutenberg is inheriting a defense that's largely in place, but you're getting to see little fingerprints. He brings in Quincy Williams, who had a ton of success with and is an absolute trip in terms of the press conference. He brings in Kalia Davis, who, even though Kalia Davis has never played for Mike Rutenberg, he's going to get an honest evaluation because he trusts the guys he was playing for. And then on offense, they I think 3 line spots are settled. We don't necessarily know which 3, other than Titus Howard seems pretty set at right tackle. Zion Johnson could play left or right guard, and Elton Jenkins could be center or one of the guard spots. Those guys, I'm confident, are going to step in and start pending health. Tevin Jenkins is certainly useful, and again, guard versatility can step in and tackle as necessary. I like that signing because when he's healthy, he can play. But I also like it from the standpoint of it doesn't tell me we're finished at this position. We're going to keep looking, and beyond that, if they get the opportunity to sort of look at this and go, if we have a really good opportunity at center, we can take it. If we have a really good opportunity at guard, we can take it. The only position that they need to sort of sort out one way or the other is ultimately going to be left tackle and how they want to play that. But yes, they gave themselves lots of options, which is good. And more importantly, from my standpoint, listening to these guys talk, all 3 of these guys are like, whatever I can do, which given the challenge that the Browns are sort of facing with overhauling this offensive line, I think it's a critical component. You're not having a guy. I mean, Titus Howard is saying he's playing right tackle, which is fine. But like with Houston, he was more than happy to step in and play guard to help them out. So when you're sitting there going, Elton Jenkins is like, I appreciate the fact he's saying, I don't want to play musical chairs. Just give me 5 guys and tell us we're going to line up and we'll get it going is awesome. And by the way, he's also entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm honestly, Michael, I'm with you. The availability aspect of most of these guys. I mean, obviously Jenkins is coming off the injury, and that's an issue. And his namesake Tevin Jenkins is the same injury issue, But I mean, again, these are signings that raise the floor of a room, But you look at Zion Johnson, his durability has been fantastic. The same thing with Titus Howard. Now, the only thing that because I think we all would feel more comfortable if we found that left tackle in round 1, whether it's Freeling at 6 or whether it's Lomu or Caden Proctor or whoever at 24. We all want to look to the draft for that, but I would rather sign a guy like whether it's bringing back Cam. Oh my gosh, Cam Robinson, bring it back, or getting Joseph Noteboom. Either one of those guys, I don't want to have DeJuan Jones penciled in at left tackle. I don't think that's good business for this football team. I can't rely on him to stay healthy for anything. If he makes it as the 4th swing lineman, great. But I don't want to be, an injury away from getting to my 4th tackle because DeJuan Jones can't stay healthy, and we know he can't stay healthy.
Well, I think it's interesting. I think, it's a good point to kind of pause and just have a discussion here, guys, because I think DeJuan Jones has shown his flashes of, oh my gosh, this guy is pretty good. Like, he has had his moments of, wow, like he probably should have been drafted before he was, but then he's also had the injury issues, and he's had the issues when healthy of looking not so great. And that'll happen with a guy that gets picked in the 5th round. Having said that, I wonder what it says, and you guys tell me your thoughts, but I wonder what it says about the philosophy moving into the end of April and the draft. And, again, all eyes continue to be on. We have this staunch Browns viewership fandom that says you got to get that left tackle first or with their first pick or in the 1st round or whatever. But I wonder what it says about their philosophy if they were to go out and get a guy like Noteboom, or I saw it here in the comments. Hold on, I can't even read the name.
Taylor Decker.
Yeah, okay. No, I know that name. I can read that name, Joe. I'm good with phonics, Joe. I'm just trying to read this name. There's a lot of letters in there. But said I'd like to see the Browns make a play for Taylor Decker, a guy like that. Where maybe it says like, hey, we're going to maybe try to find an offensive lineman here, but it may not be one of those first picks. I feel like if they go in and say, hey, listen, we feel like DeJuan Jones has shown us some good things. I don't think they're ever going to come out and say we can rely on him to be healthy, but he's shown us some good things. Maybe that shows you, okay, well, then we know what you're doing with one of those 1st round picks. Because I feel like if they go in and they get a guy like Noteboom or they get a guy like Taylor Decker, not to say you wouldn't take a guy in the 1st round, but man, does it open up everything else that you could possibly do.
Which is how they should operate. They should operate.
I agree.
They should operate from what's the best play for the football team in general, as opposed to we've got to go into the draft because we don't have this. And on some level, that's true. I mean, I'm making that argument consistently when it comes to taking a wide receiver early because they don't have that top guy. But still, I want them to have the flexibility to be able to do what they want because that paid dividends last year. To be able to just say, hey, we're just going to take really good football players, the guys that are on top of their board. Great. So, I would like them, that this is part of the thing. If it's Joe Noteboom, if it's Cam Robinson, if it's something, this may be part of the thing where one of these guys may be not super excited about OTAs or isn't quite, where he wants to be health-wise or whatever, or is just weighing his options and saying, listen, I'm not going to get the deal I want. So why am I in a hurry to sign? So I have to go to do all this extra work. This is sort of the stuff you get into, or, the other element where it's like a guy like Martin Emerson Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Emerson Jr. is probably waiting to get healthier before he makes a play because, I've seen some of the videos that he posted. He's certainly making progress. I don't think he looks good. Obviously, I think in a couple months he's going to look a hell of a lot better. And it makes sense for him to sort of like, hey, I'm going to wait, get fully healthy, and then make my decision on where I want to go. And the other part of that is somebody gets hurt, somewhere else, then maybe he gets a little bit of a better offer. So, yes, I desperately want the Browns to be in a situation where they can go into the draft and go, we just want to get the best players we feel for our football team. Yes, we're all going to sit here, understandably, as we did last year and go, get ready for a whole lot of offense, and then watch them pick Mason Graham and Quinshon, and then But, hey, that worked out in so far as, yes, they kicked the can down the road on a few of these things, but ultimately they got really good football players.
Yeah, and one thing that I'll say is the further removed from the season we've gotten is like the further away from we have to go offense, we have to go line, we have to go receiver that I get. Because at the end of the year, you couldn't have presented a scenario where I don't go wide receiver or offensive tackle with both 6 and 24.
Right.
It wasn't even discussion. But as we move forward, there's gonna be somebody at 6 that might be a little rough for us to pass up. And if we can't swing a trade down, maybe they do that. If they can raise the floor of that left tackle position by signing a Cam Robinson or a Joseph Noteboom. I want to say this, Mike, because I don't have a problem with DeJuan Jones, the player. There's obviously there's imperfections there. He's for his size, he's a wildly finesse player. He's not a power player, but his feet are so good and his length is so impressive. If this were Madden and you could turn off injuries, that's our long-term left tackle.
Right.
He's a mountain. He is. He's a pain in the ass to get around. And you can certainly do better, but he would not, if it weren't for injuries, I wouldn't be like, oh man, we have to figure out left tackle or we're screwed. It's just, unfortunately for him and for his build and everything like that, you just can't trust him. He's such a talented kid, but you can't trust him.
I don't know why that's not inserted into the collective bargaining agreement. No injuries, but
yeah, they got to work that out.
It seems easy. It seems like a pretty damn easy.
Both sides would be in favor.
Yeah, correct. 0 injuries allowed. Everybody sign here. But it's been so. I found since they've made the moves they've made on the offensive line, I've now found it to be just when it comes to the people who get paid to talk about the Browns, I've found it to be very nitpicky. And I keep going back to, and maybe I'm wrong because I don't tell my wife I've said this, but I've been wrong a couple of times in my life. But in my opinion, you don't need 5 all-pro players across an offensive line to make a good offensive line. But the problem is with what they're talking about, they're talking about, Zion Johnson and his PFF rating for the run game is this, but the pass game is this, and Titus Howard, his PFF grade for the run game is this, but the pass game is this. And I'm finding that people are judging the moves that they're making based on the fact that these aren't guys who are like Linderbaum this year set the market at center, right? Like biggest contract ever for a center. They're not that group of guys. They went on, in my opinion, what they did was found some pretty good players that have flaws. But again, in my opinion, you can build an offensive line, a really good offensive line with pretty good players. And I don't know, maybe I'm up base. Do you guys think they should have taken bigger swings out there?
Well, I mean, when it comes to Zion Johnson, they made a bet. I think they made a bet on reasonable grounds. The 4,500 snaps. He's an incredible athlete. the natural progressive offensive lineman, it could be a situation where this is right where he's going to hit his prime and could be a really, really good player. And George Warhop, the offensive line coach, is, I'm sure, in their ear saying, I can get it out of him. That's all great. I understand it, but it is fair to call it aspirational. I
Sure.
That's absolutely the right way to describe it. So there's a risk. The other ones, easy choices to me. You got ahead of the whole free agent period in general by getting Tytus Howard, and you gave up a pick that you got for Kenny Pickett. Seems great to me.
Yep.
And then Elton Jenkins was fantastic, and perhaps the Tytus Howard move, or the Elton Jenkins doesn't sign unless the Browns went out and got Tytus Howard, since Tytus Howard was a major recruiting element for Elton Jenkins, who incidentally was being targeted by the Houston Texans to sign there. So finally, Andrew Berry, look, there's so much work to do, but you're just inching your way back towards the Deshaun Watson trade with the Houston Texans. You just these little moves, just 30 more years of these little trades, and we're going to get back there. But to like, that stuff matters, to get a guy in Tytus Howard who says, hey, Elton, come play with us. This is a great situation. George Warhop's great. We're going to turn this thing around. Great. Like, that stuff does matter. So I love those two contracts in terms of neither one tells me that you are satisfied. They are good moves, but they don't tell me the Browns are like, well, we're done for 5 years. They're saying, listen, we've addressed the position, but you've got to find some you've got to find a future. Zion Johnson, you are making a hefty bet. That's fine. It's got to pay off or it's going to hurt. But the other ones are just sensible.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's like a common theme with everything that I say with this team, but like they're raising the floor of these positions. They're just making sure that worst case scenario, if we don't find the tackle we want, we have this in place, or we have that in place. And again, if they can bring in another vet to get that tackle, that would be awesome. If you don't mind, I have a question for the two of you guys. In the event that they re-sign Cam Robinson, right? And we at least have that floor at left tackle, so we don't feel the need to go anywhere, okay? At number 6, who is the one defensive player that would give you the most pause? And obviously, I'm not trying to challenge Mekhi Lemon at 6, Pete, but in the event he goes 5th, how would you handle that 6th pick?
You could just see Pete getting angry there. You could see him getting angry.
I just get in front of it.
There's two components to this. One is we've got to find out what, if anything, is going on with Caleb Downs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to speculate anything other than to say he was flagged by the medical recheck.
Yeah.
Boom. Figure that part out.
Yeah.
Because if he's healthy, it's a different equation. If there's some lingering thing, we may find out on draft day where, like, this isn't going to go the way we want. So I don't have a problem with him. David Bailey would be my ultimate answer because he's the purest pass rusher element. Obviously, I argued for Abdul Carter last year, but they have big run-stopping presence that can sort of clog things up and get them into obvious passing downs.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett is obviously just an absolute terror on one side, but if it's not him, so often it's either it's got to be a stunt where somebody's coming on block or something, there isn't that guy who's like, nope, no problem. Like the Houston Texans have the pair. They have Danielle Hunter and they have Will Anderson. You're just like, this is absolute hell to be in.
Nightmare.
Yeah. So,
that is certainly a tantalizing option. On the other hand, I don't hate the idea of Caleb Downs being a slot player and being essentially Jalen Petrie for the Houston Texans, because that's the other thing where I sit there. If I'm going to be jealous of the Houston Texans, there's two things. They have those two edge guys, and then they have this nickel who just wrecks stuff. And you just like, you sit there and you watch the Brown defense, you're like, this is really good. And then you sit there and go, man, there's that missing ingredient. And both of those guys could be that missing ingredient. So I would say right to second David Bailey because I know more confidently about his health, but I'm not opposed to Caleb Downs on that scenario.
Yeah. And the names may be the same. I just maybe some additional thoughts. One, you left the Steelers out there when you talked about the double, and you got to bring the Steelers up because you got to bring up Highsmith creating all the pressure and doing all the work, and then TJ Watt just like getting all the easy sacks. Yeah. You got to always bring that up. No, but the Downs conversation is very interesting for me because if the reports of him being that good as far as a guy that when Dane Brugler's out here saying I talked to all these scouts and asked them what safeties they've ever scouted that were as good as Caleb Downs, and they all said nobody. If he's that good, I forget about the offense defense conversation. If he's that good, okay. If the medicals check out, I wouldn't pause for a second if I think he can be a game-breaking defensive player in the secondary. Like a literal, I hesitate to even say Pro Bowl because what does that even matter anymore? But a guy that literally will impact the game every time he's on the field. You'll know he's on the field. The other team will feel him on the field. I can come up with a list of those kind of safeties. If he's that kind of guy, I don't care who else is on the board. I'm fine with taking him. And David Bailey. If David Bailey were to fall, I think a lot of people will say Arvell Reese. I like Arvell Reese a lot. I'm not 100% sold that I would go that direction. But David Bailey, you're going to tell me you're going to put that guy across from Myles Garrett, and then you're going to put Mason Graham on the inside and Mike Hall, and we're going to fill out the rest of that. And you're going to have the two linebackers going crazy there too, and you're just going to give that guy a run at it. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad even if they did if they did that and drafted whatever Concepcion at 24, and that's the way they approach the draft. I would love for them to get. All I care about at 6 is you get a guy that's going to wreck the game every time he's out on the field. That's what you do at 6. I don't care whether it's offense or defense. I don't care.
Simple. It's simple. Like that, and that should be. Look, I get it, and I like Monroe Freeling, but I totally understand. It's not a what is he now? It's what he's going to be. Mm-hmm. But I think you nailed it. I think that's. It's the 6th pick in the draft. Like, I can't get past it. It's the 6th pick in the draft. And I get it. Like, just from a totality, there isn't like the ultimate blue chip players. And if you want to say there is, it might be the running back. So right. So like, yes, you can sort of take this conversation and go, yeah, I mean, the difference between 1 and 12 or 1 and 15 might be relatively small. But I still got to sit here and go, yeah, but it's the 6th pick in the draft. Like, I don't want to be sitting here, like, listening to people hate the kid because he's not ready, whether or not, speculating that based on what he's done, he started 17 games and he's got a lot of work to do. If he's not ready year 1 and people are like, we used the 6th pick in the draft on this, like, in that sense, I think the conversation has become very NBA draft-like as opposed to NFL draft-like. Where NBA draft, you're constantly taking guys. You're like, yeah, we'll see in a couple of years. They got to grow into it. They got to figure out we're taking these kids who are 18 and we'll see. The NFL typically isn't like that. Maybe this is a draft where it's different, but I think yes, 6 picks should be expecting a guy who's going to come in and be good right away.
Yeah. Well, if in the case that we're talking with, Monroe Freeling and maybe not starting right away. If it's a premium position like that, I think that'd be okay, especially if we have a veteran that could sit in front for a handful of games. I mean, truth be told, the fan base is going to be fired up if anybody isn't an instant success. That's how it works, But I got to tell you, the one name on defense that I can't get out of my head, I really like Ruben Bain. I know the arm length is an issue. He's a beast. You want to talk about game wrecker, right? Like you saw him terrorize the entire playoffs. Like I think he's a rock star. I think putting him across from Myles and that defense, I think it would be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. There's definitely guys that I would take ahead of him, and I lean strongly towards the offensive side of the ball. But I'd be thrilled with Ruben Bain. I mean, Bailey too, and Caleb Downs if the knee checks out. You're talking about rock stars, man. They're good players. Yeah,
I'm glad I don't have to make the decision on Bain with all the mitigating factors, but I'll say this. I thought for a large part of the college season, he should have been the Heisman favorite, and he absolutely should have been invited to New York, and he didn't get either.
Yeah. He's a stud. And but again, It all boils down to this. Walk away with a stud. Walk away with a game wrecker. And if it's a left tackle, let it be a left tackle. If it's a wide receiver, you guys know, Pete, you and I have been on the same page on this the whole way. I want them to get a wide receiver at 6. I still want that. I still want that even with this conversation, because nothing has shown me that I want that more than this free agency period where Alec Pierce is signing $29 million deals. I want a wide receiver on a rookie deal at 6, please, and thank you, because you're not going to get one in free agency. But even with what you guys are saying, if Monroe Freeling needs a year, look at Walker out of Green Bay, goes and signs a 1-year, $10 million deal. Like, I think that's what these other guys that are available right now probably going to be like. Taylor Decker's probably looking at a 1-year kind of prove it deal. Like, I can't imagine Walker he was like the best of that bunch.
He was the creme de la creme for this free agent class.
And he went and signed a 1-year, $10 million deal. You might be able to get one of these other guys for something like that, and then you let Freeling step in. So, again, I said this when the Browns finished the season the way that they did. I like that and then Dante Moore made his decision, and the quarterback thing really fell off the planet. I like that the Browns were in a position at 6 we don't have to talk about quarterbacks. We could just talk about get one of these stud players and not focus on that position. Then that kind of worked itself out anyways. But I just still think they're in such a great spot to add a game-wrecking player. And then you got 24 to add another player that can just impact you right away, and 39 to impact you right away. The Browns are in a great spot in this draft. And if Andrew Berry shows you what he showed you last year, I think Browns fans should be excited. I think they should be excited.
Yeah, it's just, again, by virtue of putting themselves into do best player available, if that's where they can get to, they can just play the board. And
that's it.
That could involve trades, that could involve either moving back. I know everybody's focused on moving back from 6. We'll see if a market is really there, but I could see 24 being moved either direction. I could see them moving up from 39 or down from 39. They just get to sort of play it how they want, and they can go and get a handful of players they really, really like to sort of try to upgrade this thing, as opposed to, they've got 9 picks at this point. If they basically, the Sam Penix deal where they get rid of all their late round picks, draft a whole bunch of guys earlier. They got 7 picks in the 5 rounds last year, and then did really well. Not like they didn't get a star out of undrafted free agency like you'd like to see them do, but they got guys that are contributing.
Yeah,
would not shock me at all if they can do the same thing and repeat that success.
I still think Aiden Huntington might be a star. I still think he could be a star.
Yes, but I mean, TJ Edwards was an undrafted free agent for the Eagles and then was a starting middle linebacker in the Super Bowl. I've been a big proponent to 2023 of how the Browns have sort of set up their undrafted free agency, which
yes.
Ronnie Hickman has been a wild success for what they're trying to do.
Yes.
I still like Mahmoud Diabate and all this, but they've done this. They've set this up and they've sort of scripted out. And I'm waiting for them to get that guy. And maybe it's going to be Isaiah Bond, who I'm intrigued to see what he can do in another year. Maybe it's Aiden Huntington. One of these guys, eventually they're going to hit the guy where they get a guy who ends up getting a second, not just restricted tender deal, but eventually gets a real extension,
contract
extension where you're like, this is a fixture of our team, as opposed to, we found this nice thing. Like D'Anthony Bell was a successful move, but they haven't sort of broken through and gotten that big star.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think Hickman's the closest thing we've come to, right? I mean, this is going into his second full year as the starter. He played pretty well last year. So Hickman's been a nice find, but I'm with you. And that's one thing that I would want the Browns to do. I know, we could use the safety. We could definitely use corner depth. I think those are 2 positions that Barry's actually pretty damn good with identifying talent. I would love to see them wait until day 3, if not even later, to address those positions and load up on the front, whether it's defensive or offensive, get some receivers, maybe another tight end. I would say D'Angelo Pons is probably the one guy that if he fell to 39 would really give me pause, just because I love how feisty he is. I love the attitude he would bring to the defense. But I have a hard time taking corner early, personally, just with the way the rules are set up for them to fail anyway. I just give it day 3 and give me a pass rush.
I think I think there's just the differentiator between like the I know this guy's going to be a game breaking cornerback.
Yeah.
I would take Denzel Ward the same spot they took him when they took him. He's been that good over his career. But if the playoffs didn't show you that, how many guys in the playoffs were mid to late round contributing really good players in the draft that or in the playoffs that got drafted in those later parts of the draft. Yeah, at corner, I 100% agree with you. I will say, Pete, I want to get to this comment because you kind of brought it up and you hinted at it, and it came real early in the show here from Fumble. Actually, it came while the timer was on. But Fumble wants to know, do you think, so get into what you were talking about there. Is a trade down from 6 more likely, or is a trade down from 24 more likely if they were to make that move?
Nothing would make me happier than being able to trade down and still get either Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon. Obviously, you know which way I go. I'd be thrilled. What concerns me and what has concerned me the entire way is I don't know who teams are trading up to get from that spot. 1, and then 2, I don't know who is going to give up picks, because potentially if you're doing this, you were trying to get picks for 2027. I don't know who's giving up picks in 2027 to do that.
Right.
Teams like there are already teams that are hoarding picks for 2027 right now because everybody wants to be in that draft. But that's where I get a little worried. Meanwhile, 24, you can maybe you come away with a late round 2027, but really you're probably adding or subtracting something from this year to maneuver one way or the other. So right this second, I think it's more likely that they would move from 24. So let's say for the sake of argument, they take a receiver. And then, Monroe Freeland goes to Detroit, for example. And then all of a sudden the Browns are like, I don't know if Caleb Lomu is going to make it. Maybe they flip up a couple picks and go get him as one way. Or maybe Monroe Freeland falls far enough. They're like, let's go. It's time to go get him. Or the opposite, where somebody loses their damn mind and says, there's a speedy pass rusher with wild character concerns, and we're going to give you our first round pick next year to move up and get him. Then you have that option. I like the fact that they can sort of play that game. But like, as we sit here right this second, I would not be shocked at all if the Browns sort of get guys at 6-24, and then there's somebody that fell just a little bit further from 39, and I don't know if they'll necessarily trade up into the first round again, but move up from 39 to go get a guy.
Well, and doesn't it seem like the 24th pick, there's less involved in that deal, right? If you want to move up into the top 10, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. I can see teams being a little more reluctant to move up into the back end of the first rather than moving up into the top 10. It's just the price isn't going to be nearly as steep. And I'm with Pete. We've been talking about it. Nobody's moving off 2027 first round picks. It's like Browns fans like to talk about it like we're the only ones that know the quarterbacks next year are going to be awesome. Everybody's holding on to those picks. Everybody sees the Dylan Stewarts, the Jeremiah Smiths. It is ridiculous. Yeah.
It's Dylan Stewart. It's Travis Gooseby. It's the Colin Simmons from Texas. It's the 35 wide receivers that are getting all kinds of hype. We'll see if they all pan out. But half of them are playing just at Texas this year thanks to the portal. It's crazy how much talent's going to be there. And yes, the quarterbacks are certainly going to be a big part of it. But yeah, there's just a lot of guys. That's also why, my whole thing is get a receiver at 6, and then perfect world, you get your quarterback in the first round next year, fingers crossed, and then get another receiver in the second round, and then really have this thing amped up.
Can I, for a minute, can I please pause you guys for a hot second? Because I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but I think we do this every year. I think every year the next year is going to be the year. We were doing it last year. Yep. Nobody was even talking about Fernando Mendoza last year. Nobody at this time, March 16th of 2025, Fernando Mendoza's name didn't come out of one person's mouth, but Drew Allers did, and Cade Klubnik's did, and Garrett Nussmeier's did, and Dante Moore's did, and all these names. This year was going to, oh my gosh, they're going to get it. They made that trade. The Browns made that trade with Jacksonville. And first of all, everybody thought Jacksonville was going to suck because they always do. And then they didn't. And that part sucked. But everybody was talking, oh my God, they'll get Klubnik. They'll get Nussmeier. They'll get Drew Aller coming home, baby. Drew Aller might be coming home, but it's going to be in the 5th round. Like, we're doing this now And all of these names that we're talking about, all these teams that are so focused on stockpiling for next year or whatever, it's always been one of my least favorite ways to do it, because then there's a whole ass college football season that has to get played. It's a whole football season that has to get played, and injuries happen, and guys change their mind about things, and character concerns come out. So, like, great for whatever happens next year, but you got your shot this year to get 2 first-round draft picks. You got your shot this year to get 3 top 40 picks. You've got your shot this year to add tremendous talent to this team. And whatever happens next year happens. And if you got to find a quarterback next year, you got to find a quarterback. You'll figure it out. I feel like we do it every year. Am I wrong? Am I wrong with this?
No. Well, I mean, I agree with you. The difference is I'm not interested in tanking, which is where a lot of people are at, which is let's just go ahead and lose because it's going to be so good. I expect it's going to be good, but I think the Browns should do everything they can to win as many games as possible for Todd Monken's sake, if nothing else. I don't know that he has the grace that he can afford to just throw away his season. So I think that's part of it. But, like, I do think, quarterbacks are always tricky. And yes, that the bottom does fall out of some of these things. And some of that is just because guys stayed in school, like Dante Moore. The position players typically this far ahead of time. Like, I don't think we're worried that Jeremiah Smith is going to fall.
No.
I don't think we're terribly worried that a guy like Trevor Goosby is going to suddenly fall apart. So like that, but so that part still exists, even if somehow, you get the you get the Simpsons softball episode of calamity for the variety of quarterbacks that are coming out. Like, yeah, I guess that could happen, but I still think the position players are so good that there are going to be teams that are sort of lining up to make sure they are in contention to get those guys.
Yeah, for me, and Pete likes to bust my chops about this. I'm a Shedeur guy. I like Shedeur Sanders, and this franchise has gone into seasons with a positive buzz around it, with worse prospects as the unquestioned starter. Charlie Fry in 2006, Colt McCoy in 2011. Like, they've done it. They've gone into seasons with unproven third-round picks that were undersized and under-talented, and we're like, yeah, they showed enough last year. Let's see what they can do. I think this team's in a pretty decent spot in that respect. There's no answer outside of Fernando Mendoza and in free agency, Malik Willis. If you weren't getting one of those guys, you're taking a pretty big risk on whatever quarterback you're bringing in this offseason. Give me Shedeur on a 5th-round pick contract, build up the rest of the team around him, and see what he can do. Worst case scenario, we're in position next year. Best case scenario, we got a 5th-round pick as our franchise guy moving forward. It's going to give us 2 years of funny money. All day, man. All day. I don't see the issue with it. The only thing I'm worried about this season is, God damn it, don't let Deshaun get on the field. That's the only thing I don't want to see. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that, let's put it this way, if it's Shedeur or draft pick from this class, I'd rather go with Shedeur. I don't want to use another draft pick. And the Browns could certainly do it, and I'll have to just deal with it. But, like, I really, really don't want them to use a pick in the first 4 rounds on a quarterback. Like, I'm sitting there looking at position players going, these are guys that can either help Shedeur in this case or Jameis Winston, or they help the guy in the future, but I don't want to just take another arm. Now, granted, I get it, and I've made the argument. Take swings, but, like, given the amount of things that the Browns are trying to do in terms of the roster, and again, the offensive line is sort of where I point. Yes, they got Titus Howard. They've got Elton Jenkins. They got Tevin Jenkins. These are not concrete plans. These are guys that are setting you up to be okay right this second, but you've got to bring in those guys behind you. So if you don't, and you do it to get more quarterbacks, and that's the other part. You had 2 quarterbacks. You, like, figure it out. See if they're good. Or bring in somebody else who's a veteran and make them beat it out. Regardless, what I don't want to do is now use another draft pick, because, again, Todd Monken may sit there and go, I got to have X, and I get it, but, like, I don't want to be in a situation where they use another draft pick, and then 2027 rolls around, and then we are immediately basically just eradicating that guy's existence and moving on to another guy. That was the one sort of weird benefit of 2026 quarterback class not existing, is we were fully prepared to be like, well, they got Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. If it doesn't work, we're going to get another quarterback. Well, okay, fine. But now they get a second season to try to prove that they are better than what was always going to be a really difficult, tough shake for them to prove enough in the rookie year to be like, yeah, I'm a real quarterback.
Well, and this leads into, I want to get, obviously as people comment, I want to shout them out. And this is Denny Diamonds that says, there's no way we run it back with the worst QB room in the league, is there? And Pete, you and I talked about it a little bit. And then I went maybe a little bit haywire with it on Garage Beers almost immediately after, just a couple days after. But in my opinion, guys, you guys chime in, but yes, 100% yes. I think they can run it back. Pete, I know you've been an advocate of them signing certain guys that then went and signed elsewhere, and that's fine. But in the end, now, here's where we're at right now. Unless you think Ty Simpson is a franchise quarterback, which I don't know, some people do. And he did show some things before he didn't show some things.
Yeah.
Or unless you're going to go long ball, again, I think Drew Aller in the 4th or 5th rounds, which would be fine with me. If you're going to get one of those, fine. Otherwise, who else are you bringing into this? And please don't say Mac Jones, because the asking price is way more than anybody should ever want to give up for Mac Jones. Yep. Who else are you bringing in? For me, guys, my money, do it. I would rather have them just name Shedeur the starter now. Go ahead and name him the starter now. Go into offseason with him as the starter. Dylan Gabriel can be a backup. Deshaun Watson can go drive a Ferrari around Italy for a while. That's fine. Roll into it with that. If it is a disaster, you're going to be in a great spot to get your quarterback next year. And if not, if it's great, then it's great. There's no other good option here. You are not going to find some random diamond in the rough player.
Well, personally, I still would rather have Jameis. But the other guy I will throw out this name and people will hate it. But I think it's a scam. The Browns can continue to run the league again. Sign Joe Flacco. And if he stinks, trade him again. This should be a thing the Browns just do every year. Just sign Joe Flacco. He doesn't need reps. We've proven he doesn't need reps. And then when things go sideways, you just trade him to some team and he gets stuff for him. It's great. And then the best part is that you get one benefit. Joe Flacco is a really good veteran. Guys sung his praises last year as an option in the quarterback room. Two, if he's good, if he plays well, let's say you get you get an offensive line that works reasonably well, and you get another receiver. You've seen him throw the ball all over the park. Third, you trade. If it doesn't work, you trade him for something. You get something. And fourth, Tony Grossi now gets to call this the third worst trade in franchise history when they make that move. These are all great things for this. I think there's a world where the Browns can continue to scam this thing with Joe Flacco. Hey, it's not Stefanski this time. Now it's Todd Monken who's like, yep, love it.
Yeah, so I'm going to kindly disagree with that, Pete.
Kindly.
I love me some Joe Flacco, but I've seen that episode enough at this point. But I'm with Michael. I would legitimately name Shedeur the starter and just move forward that way. This is in no way cementing his position on the job for the foreseeable future. It's just saying, I don't need to see you beat Deshaun Watson in a competition. I don't need to see you beat Dylan Gabriel in a competition. I want to see you with all the reps with the first team, and I want to see what you can do and what you can become. It's really that simple. And to Michael's point, who are we going to bring in that at best, these guys are a Band-Aid on a shotgun wound? Just let Shedeur play. See what he's got, man.
That's it. But that is Pete. I love you, buddy. But
although Jameis, I agree with. I would trade Jameis Winston yesterday in a heartbeat.
No, thank you. I'm out.
Not to be the starter, just to be in the room.
Okay. What are you going to get?
What do you get from Jameis? The thing Jimmy Haslam said he wanted from this season. Fun. I get fun.
But what
he would be fun. He's got a good relationship with Shedeur, and I think he would be huge for Jerry Jeudy.
I don't rule it out. Jimmy Haslam saying, I want to have fun. I want a fun offense this year.
It would be fun. The very second Shedeur Sanders looks like he's not a franchise quarterback, it's going to be, Jameis has got to get in there and everybody play Jameis. I don't know what you're learning about. I don't know what you're doing to advance the future of your team with Jameis Winston.
Isaiah,
shut up with Joe Flacco. Oh my God. No, I want to know. I am more okay at the end of this year going, do we have a quarterback on this roster or not? Because Jameis ain't going to be around for any amount of years. And Joe Flacco is going to run an accounting firm in 2 years. And I love these guys, but let me see what we got. Let me see if there's a thing. I don't have to, you don't have to be either I think Shedeur Sanders is the future of this franchise or I think he sucks. You can be somewhere in the middle of that group.
Yeah, let's see what he does.
Somewhere in the middle.
But here's the
biggest crime they could
element
commit.
to it.
If go ahead, Pete. Sorry.
The interesting element to this thing is if Jameis Winston is sitting under contract, he's just there. So you can go into OTAs and be like, Shedeur, show me what you got. And if they come away going, okay, I like what I saw from this guy, and they can proceed. If they go out and go, if Todd Monken basically comes out and goes, wow, this guy sucks, they can still pull the trigger.
Fair.
And do that.
100%.
Now, that may still be an option with Joe Flacco. I'm not sure. I assume he's going to sign somewhere before that. But that's the weird, interesting thing with guys who are under contract. If it's James, if it's Jacoby, if it's whatever, the benefit of being able to go to OTAs and be like, I want to see what this guy can do. You get to start working with this guy, get a sense of it, and be like, maybe Todd Monken comes out and goes, I think we can make this work. Or he's like, nope, give me somebody better. Give me Jameis.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
100%.
But I feel like if you get to the end of this season and you still have questions with what Shedeur Sanders is, you failed. You absolutely failed. And I'm not saying that this season is going to encapsulate exactly what his career is going to be, but you're at least going to be able to tell whether or not this kid has the goods to at least keep improving and keep being the steward of this offense.
And now listen, I'm going to get to another comment here because all this is leading into something that I keep hearing over and over again. And this was a comment from a little while ago. But again, anybody that knows me knows Myles Garrett's going to be one of my favorite players. I am an Aggie. I support him from college to the pros and all that. But I saw this comment from Charlie Chuck, and we got to put an end to this kind of stuff. If they suck again, Myles Garrett's going to be extremely pissed for what it's worth. He's had enough. And to that, I say, guys, good. He should be pissed. They should all be pissed. It does not mean that I'm going to run my franchise in a certain way. If they're not good, they should all be mad. Part of me, I keep seeing this over and over again with the players that are actually good on this team. Oh, well, if you do this or that, these guys, I think we got to get over our Browns PTSD. Everybody wants to leave all the time fandom. I know Myles did his trade request or whatever, but he's locked into a contract. And he should be pissed. If they're bad again, he should be pissed, and he should do everything he can do to try to recruit players and make this team better. That should be the deal. It all leads to this.
Yeah. Can I just say about Myles real quick and sorry to interrupt, Pete. And don't get me wrong, I can understand the frustration that comes with playing for a losing franchise and just never being in the playoffs and never getting that, that plateau or that ability to showcase your talents worldwide like he would want. I get all that. But this is a franchise that has made him the highest paid edge player twice so far. They made him look at the career he's had. People talk about it like the Browns are dragging him to the depths of hell and he can't do it. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's the single season sack record holder. The offense sucks, so they haven't been winning. Myles Garrett is the most successful edge player ever, and Cleveland's had a lot to do with that. I feel oh, he's going to leave. He's going to want out. He's in an amazing situation. And if they figure out the offense, he's going to have a statue outside of the stadium for the rest of his life. The Browns, I feel like the Browns aren't doing him a disservice. They're not very good on offense right now, and that sucks. But I don't think he's going to force his way out.
Well, he doesn't have very many options. He can either play or he can retire.
Right.
But having said that, I sympathize. I think it sucks that the Browns aren't as good as they should be. Obviously, the Deshaun Watson trade and everything that has done what it's done. What I don't want to do is I don't want the Browns to operate like the Cavs did with LeBron the first time, where they basically kept throwing things at it that weren't very good ideas to try to desperately try to get over the hump / appease him. and a bunch of players that you basically forget existed on this team at that early era that you don't want to remember. Like, yes, I completely understand why Myles Garrett would be frustrated if they're not good, as he should be. But I don't want the Browns to now make bad decisions to try to fix that.
Who's the David West of the NFL right now? Who's the David West that they're going to?
Who's the dude? I mean, who's the dude they got from Washington?
Anton Jameson?
No, before that.
Larry Hughes.
Larry Hughes.
Hughes.
Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to remember these guys. Larry Hughes is one guy you
all,
do not want to remember.
You think the Eric Williams, Tony Bacci trade didn't pay dividends? Pete?
Hey.
Come on, dude.
Don't worry, Mo Williams went for 50 once. Like, I don't want the Browns to operate in that fashion where you're like, we're gonna desperately overextend to try to make this thing work in a way that you know is not going to work. They've got to. Yes, Myles should be pissed. Myles should be frustrated. I get all those things. I hope that Chloe Kim is keeping him happy and all those things so that he is nice and focused on being the best he can be in his pursuit of 200 sacks. But I need the Browns to operate like a smart franchise, which obviously they did not do with the Deshaun Watson thing, but they did this last offseason. They were really, really smart for the most part. I need them to continue to do really smart things.
Yeah, these old Cavs don't deserve to be catching strays, except for Sasha Pavlovich. He deserves all the strays. He deserves all the strays. All right, guys, as we get ready to wind up the show here on Gang of Three, Pete, Joe, and again, you guys have been awesome in the comments. You brought up some great topics for us to talk about. But you guys, what are some things we didn't hit on in this show that you feel like are the big topics for the Cleveland Browns right now over the next couple of weeks? We didn't hit on this. I guess I should have brought this up. I'm going to answer my own question. Hey, welcome to that. I'm good at this. Jerome Ford, no longer a Cleveland Brown. They let him walk. So let's have a quick conversation on the running back room. Obviously, we know Quinshon, Dylan Sampson, and Rocket Sanders showed some things last year. Do we think there's a shot? I mean, obviously, they're going to have to add some names to that room, but do we think we go into the year next year with those three guys being primary guys for the Cleveland Browns?
Yes, they absolutely could. Obviously, Quinshon South's going to determine everything, but if they block and they have space, I think Dylan Sampson is going to be really good. And I'm very curious to see what Sanders can do. I really liked him for the draft last year. They got him as a waiver claim. And then when he played behind garbage blocking, he was still pretty good.
Yeah, he was
good.
Like
as a short yardage back. So I'm certainly not opposed to the idea of getting better running back play unless it's Jeremiah Love, which it's insane. But I'm not opposed to that group. I'm not upset to see that Zion Johnson is all about Quinshon Judkins either.
Yeah, no, I'm with Pete. That is a very affordable running back room that honestly I think is the envy for a decent amount of the league. There's a lot of talent in that room, and Rocket Sanders as your third back, and he offers each guy has something different, right? I mean, obviously Quinshon's Quinshon. He's a rock star, but Sampson's the big play guy. Sanders can get, he's a power back. He can get behind his pads and make yardage like we saw last year when there's absolutely no blocking. So yeah, I'm all about it. Maybe an undrafted guy or two just for a camp body, but those three are pretty strong if you ask me.
It's just going to be John Kelly, and we all know it. That's what we know going into the preseason. It's going to be John Kelly.
He's like the longest tenured Brown. It's amazing.
Right. All right, guys. Anything else that we missed before we get out of here for this episode?
Just the pre-draft visit stuff's going on, and I think people need to pay attention to what's happening there. R. Mason Thomas.
That's the one.
Yeah, he's really good. I understand why that could be a thing even at 24. I think they're praying it would be 39 or move up, but they're also apparently going to have the Toledo tight end or Toledo safety in.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it was brought up as far as visits go, and I went back and checked. Last year, Shedeur, Harold Fannin, Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins all brought in for visits. The only two of those first 3 round picks that weren't Carson Schlesinger and Dylan Gabriel.
There you go. All right, so pay attention to that for sure. Joe?
Yeah, and just a heads up for tomorrow, the Pete and Joe show that we've got going for you. It's going to be a whole lot of Carnell Tapers, Makai Lemon. So be ready for a battle, Peter. Be ready for a battle.
That's fine. I'm for it, especially now that I got to see Quincy Williams' press conference. I shouldn't have to hear anything else about press conferences.
I like this. I'm tuning in tomorrow. I'm hoping it's going to be like Celebrity Deathmatch style. Tate versus Lemon out there, old school MTV. You guys make sure you tune in. Joe and Pete are going to be around tomorrow for Pete and Joe tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Wednesday, I'll be back with Fred at Inside the Browns Beat at 7 and Garage Beers at 9 o'clock. And then Thursday, This Side Up. It's all happening on the OBR streaming network. This has been an absolute blast with you two guys. Pete, it was a blast. I love stepping in, hanging out with you for a little bit. We don't get to do it enough, so when we do, it's great. And Joe, first time, man. First time hanging out, and certainly won't be the last time. It was a good time with you guys. You guys in the comments were absolutely phenomenal. Big time, bringing up a lot of great topics for us to discuss and talking between yourselves. You guys were great. Sometimes I get lost following what you guys are doing, so you guys are amazing, and thank you for joining us. Big thank you to the OBR for hosting us. Get over to theobr.com and hit subscribe so you can also be a part of the largest and oldest independent Browns coverage site in all of Cleveland. But that's going to do it for us here on Gang of Three. You guys go have a great rest of your Monday night. For Pete Smith, for Joe Mazzulla, I'm Michael Keefe. See you later on the OBR streaming network. And until then, as always,